Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me. Dave, Ruben, good to have you here.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks
Good to
for
be
having
here.
We're talking about the plight of men. We're talking about what they're going through. We're going to talk a lot about mental health, but maybe just as a lead-in, this idea of what's going on for our men in today's world. There is a lot of pressure on men. A lot of guys watching this channel are talking to me all the time around the pressures they're facing and how things are getting harder, work pressure, family pressure. They're listening to what seems like an agenda in mainstream media and masculinity's under fire and all this stuff. Before we get into the mental health stuff, what's your take on how men are feeling at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's true. It's a challenge for guys to navigate this. I think, especially the younger generation. I was only talking to someone this week around the under 30s or just over 30 kind of age group and their resilience and them being able to manage complexity and challenge in the workplace or in their life. I just really think there's a real need there.
Yes.
So
It's interesting you raised that under 20 thing because I just did an episode last week with a group of guys in their 20s and those two issues came out straight away, that issue of resilience. And these are all strong young guys, they're not weak, but resilience and just the whole idea of how we're supposed to navigate this and how are we meant to interpret. One message is saying be strong men, and then on this other side we're getting told to be women, and it's not an easy time. What do you think, Rubes?
Yeah, listen, I think culture and society tends to swing. There's a pendulum swing that happens. And, one thing I would say to young guys is don't fear the swing.
Right.
Yeah, because what tends to happen in the swing is there's a whole lot of things that we tend to fear, but then there's a whole lot of things that tend to happen that needed to happen.
Right.
And things tend to come back.
Yeah, okay.
And so the problem with fearing, what's going on is that we put pressure on ourselves. And from what I've seen is that age group, they do have a lot of pressure on them, but they're also a lot better prepped than we were.
Yeah, okay. That's true.
And they have a lot of they're way more willing to engage in help.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I mean, I would never at that age have put my hand up for help.
No, same.
Those young guys I see coming through, I see them in therapy.
Yeah,
I see them putting their own hand up and saying, I need help. So I actually hold a lot of hope for those young guys. They do face different pressures than us. I feel like more complex pressures, but I'm also encouraged by what I see out there.
Interesting.
Wow.
That's a really interesting point that you're raising there that I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about, this idea that, the pressures are increasing, but they probably do have more availability of resource and support, certainly than we had at that age.
100%.
And I think you're right. I think there is steadily an uptake in society of it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Would that be your read?
Oh, 100%. And what they're watching is, if they engage in social media, which they all do, there is a constant stream of, psychology, counseling stuff, and they engage in that quite a lot and they're just more aware. And therefore more willing to tap into how am I feeling right now?
Yes.
And so, I think it's a positive thing. If I look back at our generation, we were very, very challenged in that, area. I don't think the baby boomers set us up for that because they didn't know how. Right? And so, but then their fathers didn't know how.
That's right.
So, we've had a chance to catch up. And then our kids hopefully are in this space now where, there's more hope there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good points. Look, we're going to get right into the meat of mental health for men, essentially. And it's a good point for me to sort of segue a little bit and tell everyone watching, these guys are actually experts in their field. So, Ruben, you're running a counselling business that you've started and you're talking to these situations all the time. And Dave, you know what counselling is all about, but you also train organisations on mental health first aid. So, there are links in the description for you guys below if you are in need of personal counselling yourself. I would absolutely encourage you to talk to these guys, or maybe you own a business, some kind of organisation, and you want some mental health first aid training to help you do a better job with staff and team. Click on those links and reach out to these guys because they will absolutely help you. But maybe if I can come to you first, Dave, when it comes to mental health for men, what are we seeing? What are we hearing? Are there patterns? What are men dealing with when they get to that point where, like we're saying, their hand does go up and they say, I actually need help?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because the different generations deal with it differently, So you've got your older generations that are more, let's tough it out. Men don't cry, men don't, you know what I mean? Like they don't seek help. They just keep pushing forward until they collapse completely or get lost in addiction or something like that.
Right.
But then we do, like we were saying, have this generation of young people that are way more switched on with their mental health and more open and are able to navigate that space a little better.
Yep.
But, at the end of the day, even saying that, like when you look at the youth of our society, like suicide's the leading cause of death in our 14 to 25-year-olds.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I often say that when I'm training is, it's not substance use or violence that's killing these people. It's actually suicide that's leading the way. And so, that tells us and it gives us an indication that there's a lot of work that needs to go into that space. Even with suicide, like the attempts on suicide are higher in women, but the actual going through and completing a suicide is higher in men. And, men seem to pick more lethal outcomes and things like that. So, and then in depression, anxiety, all that pressure that we're facing and then everything that's going on in the world. At the moment around the world, it's just absolutely bonkers. And
it really is.
So young guys especially are looking at that going, well, what's going on? Are we going to war? What's that mean? I think there's a real need out there to speak into these things. There is a pattern of suicide. There is a pattern of depression, anxiety. There are, substance use is another, major issue in our society. And so, helping those guys realize that they're like Band-Aids. They're not going to help.
Yes.
Drinking alcohol, taking other drugs, that's not going to fix your problem.
No.
You may feel good in the moment, but at the end of the day, you're going to wake up tomorrow and still be facing the same mental anguish that you're walking through,
Yeah.
So.
And you've touched on a lot of factors or drivers there that obviously can cause guys to get to that point of, look, I'm really not doing well in my headspace. Are you hearing the same thing, Ruben?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Are there patterns?
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is guys with pressure on them to be a certain way, to have a certain success in career, to have a good marriage, to have kids that they can bring up, and it all tends to kind of hit at once. Right? So guys' careers start taking off in their 30s.
Yes.
Right? So they're getting more demand there. They are then, a lot of the time, are partnered up and start having kids. So you've got the pressure there. That's usually when I see guys start coming in. And what tends that, I get a lot of guys coming in with addictions, substance abuse issues. And it can be alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, whatever. They're all pressure relief or, to get through. And it's destroying everything that they're being pressured to look good in. So their families' lives, their kids' lives, their careers. And one thing is to look at what they're doing as incorrect. But a lot of the people I see coming through are coming through with full-blown addictions. And when we're in that space, we're not dealing with a moral decision of do it or don't do it. We're dealing with something totally different. And so that's a different process. The way I see guys getting through these things is you have to attack the urges and all of that kind of stuff. So, we use DBT or dialectical behavioral therapy to urge surf or to do all these kind of things. But you then need to go back to the root of the problem, the core of the problem.
Yeah, wow.
And to do that, have to go to vulnerability. And vulnerability is something that is not celebrated amongst men.
No.
And so where we get to with that is, and I've been in this space, is you grow up. If someone had said to me, you need to be vulnerable about this and tell someone, I would have freaked out. Even the word vulnerability, I kind of...
It's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's true.
So, kind of stutter over it,
Vomitability.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So but that idea, I've had to learn personally that I need to reach out, put my hand up for help, and then go to a place that is uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that means taking a risk.
Yep.
Now, this is masculinity, I believe, in its chorus form. To take a risk and to go there, be brave enough to go and be vulnerable with somebody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of going back to the core. So you kind of got all these things that are going to help over here. And then you've got the core root of the issue, which is kind of family of origin stuff.
Right.
All these kind of things. And or situational things, stuff that's happened to them over time. So
look, I recorded an episode recently where the main crux of the message was this idea of battle fatigue.
Yes.
And I talked about this idea that men are built for a battle. That's how we're shaped. It's how we're wired, and that's perfectly fine. But what we see happening, it seems, is when you feel like there's a battle on every single front.
Yeah.
It's not just work.
That's it.
It's work and it's marriage and it's children and it's the neighborhood they live in and it's the traffic and it's the financial pressure and bad report from the doctor. And it seems to me, because I heard you say this, the factors, plural, become like a perfect storm where guys who perhaps might not have ever been vulnerable, there's that word again, to their staff, enough piling in of enough cumulative pressure just tips them over. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Are we seeing that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a build-up, isn't it? Like, then they come to a tipping point. We come to a tipping point where the last card that goes on top's what's push you over, but that card itself is not necessarily the only thing.
Yes.
That's the problem. That was just the trigger for it all to come to a head. And I think that's what happens with us as guys. Like, one, we carry weight, like you said. We're in a battle and we're okay with that. But when everything becomes a battle, and you're at home and your marriage has become a battle, and you're at work and there's battle there, and your kids are being a battle, and if finances aren't working, and all of a sudden, it's like the pressure builds up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at some point, it's going to pop. It's going to release. So,
it can't keep going forever, right? I talk about this on the channel fairly regularly, and for the sake of people watching this episode, all three of us have spent time or still have time in your situation in pastoral ministry in a Christian church context. And so we see and we have experience with a lot of these kind of conversations. My experience in working with guys often was that before guys would hit a mental health roadblock, if I use that language, they would generally pass through a phase of self-medicating. So it was often pressure, from multiple sources. Then they would go for medication, either too much drink or, giving themselves visual pleasure looking at porn on a screen or just overeating, overspending, gambling, some kind of way to soothe the soul. Can we talk about that for a minute? What's your experience been like? When men get to the point where they either choose consciously or they subconsciously tip into self-medicating. What's going on there from your perspective?
It's a coping mechanism. And because men have not been given or taught better coping mechanisms, they go to the easiest thing.
Is that a factor in that juncture? I don't want to cut you off, but when people go through the pressure and then they do choose the medication, is part of that quick step the absence of the tools to deal with it properly?
Or, yes. Or, so we're talking about psychoeducation.
Yes.
right, in that space. So they don't have the tools.
Yep.
But they've also learnt a way to deal with things.
Right.
So with men, what I see a lot is avoidance,
Okay.
right? So when they were young, I'll give you an example, right? When they were young, their parents fought and they didn't like conflict.
Okay.
What did they do? Well, let's go back a bit. Who did they have teaching them to deal with that? Nobody. So let's take an 8-year-old boy. He takes himself to his room and he shuts his door. Right? And puts on headphones or whatever he does. What he's doing is he's blocking out what's going on. So who taught him to do that? He did. Guess what? It worked for him. And so what happens later on in life is he continues to use that tool, and then substances, spending, gambling, they just become the next avoidance tool, right?
Great. Okay, so I love that idea, and it makes a lot of sense. Talk to us about the relationship between soothing and numbing, in the sense of, because you think, a guy who hits the drink hard on the weekend to cope, it's because he really likes to drink 40 beers. Well, maybe he does. How much of that is actually soothing in his perspective versus he's actually just numbing it out, like the headphones going to the room?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it self-soothing is different than numbing,
right?
But I'd say self-soothing.
Say it 3 times fast for those playing at home. Yeah, self-soothing.
Is on this end of the spectrum.
Right.
Numbing's on that end of the spectrum.
Okay.
So we learn that this is what soothes us. This is what takes away just the feeling or the pain, the slight, because in Australia, let's take alcohol, for example. We get a what do you call it in work? When you get a career advancement.
A promotion.
A promotion.
We won't be cutting that.
Okay.
That was a demotion, but anyway.
So we get a promotion.
Have you not had one for a while?
Obviously not. I work for myself.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
I give myself
that
one every week. We get a promotion.
Yep.
We celebrate with alcohol.
Right.
Someone passes away at the wake.
Yeah.
We drink alcohol.
Yep.
Friday nights with friends, we drink alcohol. When we're lonely and things, aren't going so well, we drink alcohol. We're going from soothing, right? Relaxing. So we take away that pain of pressure during the week and I need to relax. That's the soothing part.
Yeah.
I see the spectrum go from that into now we go out a bit too much and we're binging.
Yes.
Now we go into drinking by ourselves.
Yes.
Right? Isolation.
Yep.
That's the numbing.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think binging kind of crosses over into that as well.
Yes.
But that's the numbing behavior. And we're just not wanting to feel anything in that zone.
Yeah. And it's like you say, it's connected to that idea of the tools aren't there. There's learned coping mechanisms.
That's it.
Probably out of trauma or discomfort.
Yeah.
Dave, I want to ask you on this point, like we said before, you do training with organizations where you train them to look for the signs. It's first aid, it's readiness, right? So in that context, what comes up in your conversations around this point in the journey, when people have had lots of pressure and things are starting to break and crack a little bit, what comes up in your training regarding
In the training space, we talk a lot about, so obviously it's awareness to start with, but also intervention and where like mental health first aid sits on the scheme of, someone starting on this downward spiral to them coming to recovery.
Yes.
And where mental health first aid really sits in that space of intervention and support. So basically what I do in that space is teach people really simple things, honestly. It's how to have a conversation with someone who's in a mental health crisis.
Okay.
What to say, how to offer them support, what resources do you have, what professional support. Be prepared.
Okay.
And this is how you can have the conversation.
Right, okay.
And, people don't realize that it's actually quite simple to have that conversation.
Yes.
If you come prepared and you know what to say, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely for the training side of things because it's in the workplace where guys spend most of their day. You know, some of them spend more time at work than they do at home.
Yes.
You know, and so there's the great opportunity in that space to be able to intervene.
Yes.
And to be able to have those difficult conversations.
Yep.
And not shy away from it.
Right.
Because often what we see is we see people with signs that something's not right.
Yes.
But we don't know how to have that conversation.
Yeah,
We don't want to be rude. We don't want to impose ourselves. We want to just we want to be mates with them, but we don't know how to. And so what mental health first aid will do is teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
How to have a real conversation with someone.
Yes.
And intervene into that space and help them wherever they're at, whether they're down on the soothing side of things, or they're up in this other numbing space. Like, it just depends. But the idea is to get someone that's in crisis or starting to head into that space, get them into that place where you can help them get the professional help that they need. You know?
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? Because we've talked about this idea of a society that's migrated from, don't talk about that stuff and just have another beer, mate, through to where now there is a lot more awareness, and we've still got a journey to run. But maybe a lot of people wouldn't have contemplated that factor of workplace readiness can be such a powerful thing. I remember reading the results of a statistical survey, it's about 4 years old now, from a renowned Australian research house.
Yeah.
And one of their questions was around this idea of, support in the workplace and well-being essentially was the category they were talking about. And the responses showed 83% of respondents believed that the employer or the workplace should play some measure of a role in ensuring their well-being.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by that because I thought that's a big shift.
Massive.
Yeah.
Because, it wasn't that long ago where employers and companies would just turn up to work and do your bloody job. But there's clearly a graduation in people's thinking around a collective approach to well-being. Would that be fair?
100%. If I was being cynical, I would also talk about productivity.
Yes.
But there's also...
But that's a valid thing, right?
That's a valid thing. And, from the workplace. But also we've gone from, OH&S, from safety into the mental space, which is making sure that not only are people safe from tripping over something at the front or, doing something like that, but mentally they're safe as well. And I think we have to put more responsibility onto corporations.
Right.
And luckily, and I don't, it's something that's evolved over time.
Yes.
But people should be able to go to their company, especially the bigger ones that have these things in place, and be looked after properly.
Yes.
Because people are seeing it now like, well, Johnny's got to have 3 weeks off work because he broke his leg.
Yep.
Well, actually, you know what? Johnny's got to have 3 weeks off work because he's not doing well.
Yes.
And this is where we're going.
Yep.
Yeah.
The training that Dave does, I've done it before, and it's brilliant.
Right.
Because it doesn't just put the onus on the company, it puts the onus on the individuals within the company to be able to do and have these one-on-one conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very powerful, right? I mean, I look at it from a variety of aspects, and you touched on productivity, and of course there's the well-being of the individual, which is top of the tree. But some of the spaces I work in, helping businesses and organizations, I have this conversation with business owners when they talk to me about, it's hard to find good staff and it's hard to retain good staff. And I say, well, how well do you look after them?
Yeah.
Because my experience has been that if people are happy and well looked after and celebrated and there's authenticity of concern, like someone comes to work and they don't feel as though they're quite right, and someone actually stops and goes, Ruben, are you okay?
Yeah.
Respectfully, privately, is everything all right? Do you need any help? People are loath to leave that sort of workplace because it feels like a caring family environment,
community,
right? Community.
Yep.
So there's a lot of motivating factors for people to play their part in raising this standard around, I guess it's all of our task to watch out for people left and right.
Love it.
It's not just like, get on with your life, and then if you get into a bit of a problem, just go over there in the corner for a while.
Yeah.
True?
100%.
Oh, definitely. I think, one of the things I do, obviously being in the church space, I'm a pastor as well.
Yeah.
And I've started to venture out and speak in churches on Mental Health Sunday.
Yeah.
And so
okay.
we discuss and go into church and talk about mental health
Okay.
and, you know, the biblical perspective on it.
Yeah, right.
You know, the reality is 1 in 5 people suffer with a mental illness every year, right?
Mm.
That's like 5.3 million people in Australia.
Big deal.
All right. Now, 40%, and this is the alarming statistic I find, 40% of those people
Yep.
are unrecognised. They don't seek help.
Wow.
So, you know, it's estimated up to 40% of people don't seek help when they're having a mental health
Well, it's
issue.
just over 2 million on that stat.
Which is like 2 million people, right? So I know the church has done terribly in this space. That we just have not done a great job
Yeah.
in working here. So I've sort of had this thing to become a voice in that space to bring guys out of their cave.
Yes.
And release, yeah. So hey, it's okay to come out of that cave.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't survive there. You need to step out.
Right.
And the response to that conversation is astounding. Guys that especially men,
Yes.
because in a church context, women seem to be the kind of leading push, but seeing men, young men especially, coming forward and saying, "Yeah, I need help.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm struggling here,
Yes.
and I've never talked about it."
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I've got a real thing in me about breaking that silence
Yes.
and being a voice of change in that space,
That's brilliant, Dave.
in whatever context I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. And I think it's testament to lots of things, in particular, the power of positive community. Because I think that's where a lot of men struggle, in my experience and my observation, is like isolation we know is a killer, right?
Yeah.
Nobody is better at anything on their own.
That's right.
Right. And in this space, you're exponentially worse in your own bubble.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that keeps people locked down negatively is they're not observing the process happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're, because I was just imagining one of your training events while you're talking there, and I'm thinking if you're in there as someone who's a little bit lukewarm about the idea, but you're watching and you're hearing other people stand up and go, "Yeah, I've struggled a bit," it's kind of like, it normalizes it
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
and empowers the rest of the participants.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
I mean, you know, this is when you normalize something, you bring people out. People need to see someone else do it first, especially guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys will hang back.
Yes.
If they see someone else step forward into that space, they'll go, okay, so maybe it's all right. Because what is going on in our heads at home,
Yes.
men's heads at home, rarely ever comes out our mouths,
Yeah.
right? It is kept in here because a strong man is one that has all their stuff together.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's got all the answers.
He's got all the answers.
True. Yeah.
He's successful at this, this, and this. That's where the pressure is, right? But what's going on in here, and this is the privilege I get in being a therapist, is I get men coming in that just get it all out.
Yeah, right.
And I've had, I've had older men, like, I had a guy who was like in his mid-60s come to me, talk to me about some stuff, and he said, "Ruben, I've got to tell you something. I have never told anyone that story in my life."
That's so powerful.
What a privilege for you to be in that seat.
It was an absolute privilege. And what happened after that is he came 6 to 8 times. He got it all off his chest.
Yep.
And that was enough for him.
Yeah, right.
He didn't need
Amazing.
ongoing care and tools and stuff like that. I gave him tools to work through, and he took them and he used them. But for him, 80% of it was just getting it out of here and out of here.
Interesting.
Wow.
Out.
Yes.
Because he said, I would have died with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
My wife wouldn't have known, so.
Yeah, wow. It really comes back to what we were talking about earlier about the vulnerability.
Yes.
And the problem we have is we haven't got, and look, it is getting better in society. There are men stepping up and being courageous and starting to step out and talk about this stuff and the struggles they've fought and gone through. But we need more courageous men.
Yeah.
We need guys to stand up and say, yeah, you know what? I'm broken.
Yes.
I've had issues and my life has fallen apart and this has happened and I've gone through this. And I find when I start to share my story, of what I went through in 2015 with breakdown and burnout and things. And guys' ears prick up really quickly, and all of a sudden they're coming out of the woodwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're going, man, I didn't realize I could talk about this.
No.
I didn't realize, I didn't know that my mate went through that. Or,
Right.
do you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
and it's like, we just need more courageous guys
Yeah.
to go, you know what, we're just going to throw off society's norm
Yes.
and say, we're not going to act like the generations before us.
Yes.
And we're going to be an example to the next generation
Yeah.
on how to actually live a healthy, holistic life.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
be honest about who we are and what we're going through.
Totally.
And,
100%. No, you're spot on. Look, the three of us each know that we've all had some tough spots with this.
100%.
We don't reside there, but all three of us have had some phases in our past where we've kind of hit the wall mentally.
Bit more than tough spots, but anyway, yeah.
Tight.
There's other language, but I'm not sure of the time yet. It's true. And I think definitely there's a compassion element that when you've been through it, you are mobilized
100%.
to empathize.
Yeah.
But I think there's also an authority that comes if you've lived through it and you've learned and you've picked up some gold on the way through that becomes the gift to others. And we'll get into that in a minute or two from now. But when you were telling the story about the older gentleman, I had this picture in my head of, I guess there are some people who, they just need to take off a backpack full of heavy rocks and put it down.
Yeah.
But then there are some people who sort of got their legs and their arms tied in knots with ropes.
Right.
They need to unravel.
Right.
And they're two different approaches depending on the person, right? So I do want to spend some time unpacking all of that and how our own experience played into it and so on and so forth. But it's another good moment for those of you guys watching. If you are in need of counselling, then please, I'm urging you to do something about it. I don't want you to be ashamed. I don't want you to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
I want you to hear what these guys are saying, that it's actually a courageous, strong thing to do, to put your hand up and say, I need to talk to someone. If you need to get counselling, I couldn't endorse Ruben to you more highly, and his link's in the description. And maybe you're a business owner or you've got a leadership role in an organisation and you're thinking, do you know what, we could do better in our workplace. Please contact Dave. He will bring some brilliant training to your organisation. You can play a part in not just leveling your own headspace up, but helping others as well. So please click those links below. Look, let's talk about this idea going from the medication to, I'll use loose language, the mental health episode.
Yeah.
So I've done a bit of training on the channel here and then coaching with others and so forth. And I try to bring people a less technical language around the mental health spectrum. And so I talk about a first stage being a catalyst event of some sort. A trigger event is often the first stage, and then people will move into experiences of depression and anxiety, and there's a connectedness between these stages. And, if people don't get the help and support, then they can keep on progressing, right?
Yeah.
Wherever people realize they've gotten to, because you can go from medication through several stages into psychosis before you realize you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Most people probably hit the early fringes of some anxiety problems and some experience with depression.
Yeah.
Talk to us in your experience, because you're both experts and professionals in this space, the journey from medicating to mental health awareness internally. What does that look like?
Something just sprung to mind, so I'm going to jump in front of Dave.
That's fine. What do you think about that,
Ruben? We all have this thing called a window of tolerance, right? When we're inside our window of tolerance, we can handle anything that's being thrown at us, right? When we step outside our window of tolerance, we are in what we call hyperarousal, right? So there's these things that start to come at us and compound. So it might be trauma, it could be stress, it could be situational stuff, and we start going to that realm of overwhelm,
Okay.
anxiety, and that whole space.
Yes.
You hang around in that space too long, and this is why intervention is so important. You go to the next realm, which is hypoarousal, which is you head into basically depression or that numb, plateaued feeling where you don't feel anything.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard it from, you know, some experts around this area that if you don't get some help early on, the lasting those effects in hypoarousal can actually be with you for life,
Right.
or for a very, very long time.
Right.
And so you need that early intervention, but you need to recognize where you are. And this is, you know, when you get the tools, when you get the help, what happens is we start to expand our window of tolerance. And we can step back into it, or it just gets bigger. And the things that, you know, really hit us before and put us into those realms, we can start dealing with. Because we start to realize, okay, I know what's happening now. I can acknowledge it. And I know the tools that I need to start inputting into this space.
That's a fascinating concept, Ruben. And I'm going to come to you on this same question in a minute, but I just want to linger on that a little bit longer. I haven't heard that language before, that phrasing of a tolerance window, but it's actually very powerful in the imagery that it triggers in the thinking. And I think for a lot of guys watching, they need variations of language. Some guys will hear one thing, it's like, oh, I saw it now. Whereas others, I remember not far from where we're recording tonight, actually, just down the road, I remember bumping into a guy who I had known when he was a teenager. I hadn't seen him for 10, 12 years, and he had worked in a very difficult role in police force and had seen some horrendous things and just progressively taken a toll on him. And I remember bumping into him at a shop when he was in a very poor state of mental health. And the language around the stage where he had gotten to, I learned later, was called hypervigilance and paranoia. And he was in such a state that he was unable to finish his conversation with me at the checkout because it all just became too much. He left his belongings in his bags and went to the car. And I think that's fascinating what you said about this ability to increase your tolerance capacity with tools. And I think that's an idea that a lot of people would not be aware, that you can actually broaden. I mean, you don't want to have a goal of, hey, let me see how much I can tolerate, you know, let's go further. But, you know, in order to achieve a result for yourself, right? Because coming back to the original question, I'm presuming, but tell me if I'm wrong, that most people slide from the pressure maybe into a catalytic event in a relationship or a health issue or money or employment or something, and land square in the middle of depression and anxiety, and it comes as a massive shock to be there. Would that be true?
Yeah, I think, like, I know for me personally, when I went through what I went through, it was like, felt like it happened overnight.
Okay.
I went from being on the top of the world, everything was amazing, to the next day breaking down in a car, not being able to get out, not being able to think.
And that's a leading question.
Yeah.
Did it happen overnight, or did you just not see the migration happening?
I didn't see the migration.
Okay.
I was ignorant to what was going on. And maybe even just a little bit oblivious, intentionally oblivious.
Okay.
I just did not want to deal with the problems. But when I look back, I see the signs.
Yes.
But I think, like, in this space, I like to encourage guys and people and say, listen, mental health is not a fixed state.
Right.
And it's fluid.
Yes.
So there's a mental health continuum. And at any one time, we can be anywhere on that continuum, right? And we can be at any stage that we're talking about.
Yes.
But we can take some encouragement that if we put in the right and work and we do we work on this, things can get better. And you actually even can have a pretty good life even if you have a mental health struggle.
Right.
Yeah. So I always like to try and bring that thinking around. There is hope here.
Okay.
And you're not, just because right now you're in that place of hypervigilance or whatever it may be, it doesn't mean you're always going to be there.
Yes, gotcha.
As you get the help you need, as you see the professionals and they give you the tools like Ruben does with guys, it broadens your ability to cope.
Yes.
And you become, I found once guys start to even just understand what's happening in their brain,
Yes.
like physically,
Yes.
they start to be able to grapple this thing easier and
gotcha.
go, oh, I know what that is.
Right.
That anxiety, I know what that is. That's in the amygdala of my brain.
Yeah.
And I can't make the decisions because I need to actually be in my prefrontal cortex to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And so when you start to realize, oh, okay, I'm in the fight, flight, freeze space of my brain.
Yeah, okay.
It takes a lot of pressure off these guys to go, they actually start to realize, I know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, I've trained some veteran guys and stuff up in Townsville on this and with mental health first aid and, you know, and they're having their input from that, like, because these guys struggle with PTSD and those sorts of things and have had those moments where they've just had to, I'm out, you know. And like they will talk about understanding what actually is going on just physically, biologically.
Got you.
Is so helpful.
Yes.
In reading where they're at and being able to make decisions.
It's very powerful. I hear some technical language there and some everyday language and both matter. I love what you're saying there around mental health is not a fixed state.
Yeah.
That's important for guys to hear and to take a few seconds to contemplate it because I think one of the paralyzing influences of a mental health struggle is the thought, this is my new location.
100%.
Yeah.
I live here now.
Yeah.
This is me. It might be you for now, but it can change. So I think that's a very empowering thought. Do you guys see when the knowledge comes and the tools are there? Do you see a fairly quick early stage of wins for guys? Like, do you see a lot of progress quite quickly when people start to really apply themselves to what they're being taught?
Yeah, listen, I mean, in my experience, what I see, and this is my personal experience as well, is that the tools are really based around in the now. When something's happening right now, I engage in a tool that is going to help me. And this can be everything from breathing to using some DBT skills to using and doing that kind of stuff. And it takes you out. They're temporary, right? And they help.
Yes.
Then what happens is I find you've got to go and do some long-term work.
Yeah.
So there's the short-term stuff that you need and there's the long-term stuff.
Yes.
Like there's 3 Ps, right? There's pleasure, progress, and purpose, right? And I've had to implement these into my life. And it's not about firing 1 or 2 of them. It's about a balance of all of them.
Yeah, wow.
Right? And so pleasure, we're all like, you know, everyone's up for, oh yeah, I know what I need to do for pleasure. Or, you know, some guys don't.
Yeah.
Some guys are stuck.
Yes.
So it's all the stuff that helps you enjoy life, be happy, put a smile on your face, adrenaline, all these kind of things. But if you stay in that zone only, you know, so we go into the progress one, which is the second one, which is about achievement.
Okay.
And about doing something new, learning a new language.
Yep.
Yeah,
you know, new skills.
Okay.
And a lot of guys tend to pick up a new hobby and start doing stuff like that, or you know, sports or whatever.
Yeah.
That really helps. And you'll notice those 2 are very self-focused.
Yes.
The last one, purpose, is out.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, okay, now that I'm doing this stuff, purpose is all around how do I help other people?
Yes.
How do I reach into someone else's situation? Because guess what? When you start doing that, you take the focus out of here and here, and you put it into someone else's world.
Yeah.
What you give to that person, you get back.
Wow.
100%.
Yep.
It's like this, it's this thing, you know, AA, the last step in AA is step 12. And it is, we take this message to other people.
Yeah.
Right.
So they go through the steps
Yes.
and then they go out and they take the message to other people.
Yep.
Most people will tell you that that last step for them is the one that keeps them sober.
Yeah, wow.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's about, so when people come into my, it's really challenging, but when guys come into my practice and we get to that part and I say, let's get some purpose in your world, and it could be around career, it could be around all sorts of things, but then if they've got nothing like that, I'll say, let's engage in volunteering.
Right.
Yeah, wow.
And it's a real challenge for people because there's not many people, actually, not many guys that have engaged in volunteering as they've grown up. And but what they get out of that if they do is incredible. Or use their story to help somebody else who's going through the same thing, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So,
I think even just the fact that you are actively raising that point where you're one-on-one and, you know, you're conversationally taking them by the hand and saying, okay, let's make a plan for what you're going to give to others. As opposed to this ethereal notion of you hear it said somewhere and you go, oh, yeah. It's so much more powerful, that picture of, you know, here is a helper with someone being helped saying, we're actually going to do this. We're going to choose something. And you're going to follow through. That's brilliant. Look, 3 Ps, it's a really good segue to what I want to get into because I want to help some guys, right? We all in the space where we're trying to help people, we're trying to bring them forward, and there'll be guys watching this who are leaning right in because they've been in this space or they know someone who is. Let's take the approach of you've got a stadium full of people, 100,000 men, some who are there as individuals who are struggling and looking for help, some who are there as influential guys in their community space who are wanting to help others. What are some of the top practical things we want to download into them? And we can just cherry pick some of the things that you're helping guys with. What are our go-to things straight off the top shelf that we say, okay, to do well with your mental health, you need to be doing these things? Where do we tell them to focus?
Really?
So polite.
I mean,
such gentlemen.
I mean,
here he is.
you know, I will always go to what does your support network look like? Right? And some people can need to be able to talk about their support network, but I would say you need to have a good support network of people in your world that you can talk to. Now, support network can look like a counselor or psychologist. It can look like a GP. It can look like a mentor. But it also should look like a friend that you can talk to. And or you know, some people are really good with their parents, for instance, or whatever. Some people don't go to that space, but having a network of people that you can list, and say that's who I'd, you know, engage with. So then the link to that is the vulnerability. So then is to say, we need as men to be courageous enough to put our hand up and say, I need help.
Is that an early stage question by training and by pattern for you in a clinical environment that you're asking that question very
100%.
early on? Okay.
100%. We'll go through everything that's going on in someone's world. And one of the first questions I'll ask is, what does your support network look like? And so, you know, because people need that. If they don't have a support network, I will work with them on building that. Because some people just don't realize that they need it or what kind of people I need in my world. Some people will go, I've got a counselor, I've got a psychologist, I've got a psychiatrist, and I'm like, hey, go for it. You know, talk to as many people as you need. So that kind of thing. And so I think and the vulnerability in that space to be able to talk to somebody. So we're getting it off our chest. It's out there. It's not up here anymore.
It's very powerful, actually, and that connection you're making there between what is your support network, and once it's there and known, that's how you start to bridge to the vulnerability thing.
That's it.
And I'm hearing it as well that it's like it's a dual power, right? Because, you know, someone watching this, they're going, oh, I need to ask myself who is in that support network, but also guys who want to help their mates. There's a question they can ask. Because a lot of guys freeze. You know, how you going, mate? I'm really struggling. Oh, what did you say, VB or Carlton Dry? And the other guy's like, oh, I thought you were going to help me, but now I feel like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't know what question to ask. That's a dual power. You got one for us, Dave? What do we want to say to guys to start building their toolkit, becoming stronger in this space and, doing better?
I think it's just about like be proactive.
Right.
Yeah.
Just step out. Like realize, you're not the only guy struggling.
You're right.
And we're all really good at putting on masks.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is every one of us has got something.
Yes.
So we can rest in the fact that we're all the same.
Yep.
And different people have different capacities to deal with things and whatever.
Yes.
But generally you're gonna have 5 mates in a room at the pub having a beer together. There's going to be a couple of them at least,
Yeah.
and then it's okay, like to have problems in your world, but do something about it.
Yeah.
So just be courageous, be bold. Say, I was thinking about the whole idea of the support network, and like one of the things I've noticed is that some guys, they have a network around them, but you wouldn't really consider them a support network. They're more of an enabling network,
right?
And I think it's really important that if we're going to think about who's my support network, it may not be the people you think you want it to be.
Yeah. How do they decipher if they're not sure?
For me, it's someone that's going to tell me what I need to hear, not just what I want to hear.
Okay, so a mate who's willing to maybe be a bit more straight with you?
A bit more straight with me and say, no, man, there's something not right here.
Okay.
Don't give me the cliche, I'm good answer. No, we're not taking that. And I think I've had one of those conversations with you actually over the years.
Who asked who the question? Was I being a bit direct with you?
You were asking me. And it was that question, are you okay? And I'm kind of like, oh, yeah. And you're like, are you?
Right.
That second take.
Yeah, got you.
And I think if you're in a group of mates and you've got a mate that's like that, then you're going to do okay.
Yes.
You've got somebody on your team.
Yeah.
And he's not going to take your rubbish and your crap.
Yep.
But he's going to push you a little bit further.
Totally. That's great advice. I think especially for all men, I think, but especially for our younger men who, they probably have grown up in a world that's a bit more addicted to likes and default acceptance and approval.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe there's a tip there for them to go, oh, if I've got one mate he's always fairly direct with me, but I know he loves me and doesn't change that. Maybe that's the guy you need to listen to a bit more.
Yeah. Right.
Because he's actually taking the risk to be a bit stronger with you because maybe he sees something. So, okay, so look, we've got this idea of just being proactive. We've got the support network. What else do we want to say? We've got this room full of men. What are we saying to them? Another one, Rubes?
I mean, in relation to what we're talking about, I would say early intervention.
Yes.
Yeah, don't wait until it's
sooner
too
the
late.
better, right?
The sooner the better. Now, I'm saying this from a guy who waited till it was too late.
Okay.
Right? So I'm talking from experience. And, I just think that we are in a society now where it's okay to put your hand up. It's okay to engage in a conversation.
Yeah.
And is it risky? Yeah, it is.
Yes.
But isn't that who we are as men?
Totally.
Yeah.
We're risk takers.
Yeah.
I recall you telling me a story in your own journey of a GP or a practitioner saying to you, if you don't take certain steps now, you'll be seeing me for a lot longer than you think. Are you happy to tell some of that?
100%. Yeah, I was on the verge of a breakdown. Someone in our office came to me and said, "Oh, it's such and such's birthday. Can you just say happy birthday from, leadership and And I looked at her and I was like, how many people are coming? And she said, oh, probably 8. And I said, I can't do it.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And I walked outside.
Was that the first moment of realizing?
That was my realization moment.
Wow, yeah.
It was like Dave. I had ignored all the signs. I hopped in my car and I hopped into my ute, right? I just want to say ute because there's a man crying in a ute, I was thinking, what is going on
You
here?
do ute, bro.
Yeah. And so I drove to the beach and couldn't stop crying. So I went to my wife, said, you need to go and see the doctor.
Yes.
I probably wouldn't have gone to see the doctor.
Yeah,
I probably would have just went to see the doctor.
So there's the support network.
There's the
thing.
support network.
Yep.
I spoke to my doctor. He said to me, you're taking 8 weeks off work right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't do that. It's impossible for me to do that.
Yep.
I'm leading this place. It's like I can't. And all the other repercussions that would have been behind that from saying there's something going on with my mental health.
Yes.
Everything, the domino effect of that. And he said, you don't have a choice. You have to do this and you have to do this now.
Wow.
And so I went and I did it. And I saved myself from tipping over the edge.
Yeah, wow.
Right? I mean, I was already at the edge and I was already halfway through a breakdown. But I know that if I didn't take those 8 weeks off, as hard as it was, to raise my hand and say, I need help and I need time off, I would be in a much worse position right now.
Yeah, wow.
And so, listen to your doctor.
Yes.
If you've got a good one.
Right, exactly.
And that's really interesting because my story is like the opposite to that.
Yeah, right.
Where I did go over the edge, but I kept working.
Yes.
And the advice I was getting from certain people was you can't stop.
Yeah.
Because if you'll lose your job or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was actually just talking to a supervisor that I was today, my supervisor, I have a supervisor, and he was chatting to me about this. And I said, in hindsight, I wish someone had said that to me when I was going through the initial stages of that breakdown.
Wow.
Because I feel like what happened is I went through that, and then when I finished that job, I got a 6-week period, but it was like 6 months later.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd had a breather.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember in that time sleeping like 16 hours a day.
Wow.
For like 2 weeks.
You were cooked.
I was cooked, yeah. And I'm like, how fortunate you were to take that advice with all the pressure that came with if I do this, this is not going to work out well for me. But the reality is that short-term pain of like 8 weeks, don't know what's going to go on, the unknown, actually now is being beneficial.
100%.
And you're in a different environment now and all that sort of stuff. But I sit and hear that and I go, man, I wish I had someone that was in my world in that moment.
Yes.
And there was people helping me, but just not giving me the right advice.
Yeah, interesting.
And in hindsight, I hear that and I go, man, you were so blessed
absolutely.
to have somebody say that to you and for you to take it serious.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a pattern here in what I'm hearing you both say, So you talked about what's your support network, and then you're saying make sure you're proactive. And we're talking about early intervention, all powerful thoughts and helpful thoughts. I don't want to oversimplify because I think our desire to help guys that are watching is genuine.
Yeah.
Am I oversimplifying, or is it true when I say that possibly the biggest thing before you get to all the other practicals around eat more healthy and look after your sleep hygiene and get some sunlight, which are all important things in their own
100%.
right.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, is the bulk of the war here on be honest, break the isolation, break the silence? Is that an oversimplification or is that on the money?
I don't think it's oversimplifying the initial phase. I mean, what you're saying is you're simplifying it, but they are the concepts that need to be engaged with. They're huge, right? They're broad, like, being vulnerable, right? Okay, what does vulnerability look like?
Yes.
Right? Now, that is a whole new thing.
Yeah.
But opening up and putting your hand up, 100%. So,
Yeah. Wow. I think it's true. Like, I think even if it is oversimplifying, I think that's what we need.
Yeah, it is.
We need
That's guys.
simple language as guys, right?
Right.
We're not women. We're men,
well,
right?
No, I can't speak for you. And I know you two aren't, but no, you're right.
But I'm like, that concept, break the silence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a simple statement, and it's broad, but it only takes one conversation.
Yes.
With one person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that could be your wife, or it could be a mate of just saying, hey, man, I'm really not doing well.
Mm.
And it could be your GP.
Yep.
And if it is your GP, fantastic. That's where I send most guys straight away.
Yeah.
Right.
Book in with your GP. And the
Yeah.
reason I do that is because they can diagnose, they can medicate, they can do all they can refer, and they can do everything, right? They got the resources.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think having that simple language of like break the silence, start the conversation.
Yep.
And it may just be one or two words to one person.
Yep.
But you've popped the seal.
Yep.
And it's always the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Is to have that first conversation and just the courage it takes. And man, I take my hat off to guys when they do it.
Right.
Because it's a courageous thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, man, but don't suffer in silence.
Yeah, totally.
You don't have to. And it's a lie to think that you can't talk about
Totally,
this.
because the suffering is always worse in silence.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's bad enough as it is, but in isolation and silence, it's way worse.
And when you open up and you realize, hey, there are actually some guys in my corner.
That's right.
Right.
Oh, wow. Like all of a sudden.
These guys will help me.
These guys are here and they're accepting me even though I'm struggling and they're encouraging me and asking me how I'm doing and all of this. But I didn't know any of that because I wouldn't talk about it.
Totally.
So
spot on. You guys have been awesome. You really have. You've said some very powerful things, and I'm hopeful that guys watching this and listening to this will have heard at least one thing. I think they will have heard a lot more, but I'm hopeful for each individual situation they've heard at least one thing that can get their process started. You know, as you guys know, you're experts in this field. You don't necessarily fix this stuff overnight or in a heartbeat.
No.
But you can start the process pretty quickly by just taking action on one thing. So, and look, I know that we share a commonality of wanting to genuinely help people and see them do better. So I appreciate you taking the time.
No, great.
It's been awesome.
Thanks, Andy.
So guys, if you have enjoyed watching this, the main message we really want to give you is to take action. Like you're hearing these guys say, they're working with men in this space all the time. Don't do nothing. Do something. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to fix it all yourself or even quickly, but you can do something. And it really is oriented around that idea of be honest with yourself to start with, and then break that silence, break the isolation. As I've said a couple of times, if you need a great counselor, click the link below for Ruben's business, Better Counseling. He will help you. If you're an organization that really is starting to figure out we need help for our team on this, reach out to Dave and he can provide the training that you guys need on mental health first aid. Hope you got something out of this that's powerful, and I'd love to see you in another video real soon.